What's up, Totem Pole Nation? This is Lambo and Matt's World of Sports. Today we're getting into the preview of NCAA Week 12 games and giving our predictions. We'll also give some insight on the Jim Harbaugh situation with Michigan, which is evolving every day. He just had a press conference yesterday, so we'll give our reactions about those two things. As always, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you to Sideline Sports Network for the platform. And if you want some merch, TotemPoleNation.com. It's in the ticker. Go there, get whatever you need. Let's get into it.
Well, Jim Harbaugh, always in the news. Even his brother John Harbaugh had to defend him. Even Shannon Sharp and Stevie Day came out with some very, very vicious stuff. Especially Shannon Sharp said Americans don't like cheaters. Now, I don't think he cheated at all. We'll see how this court case here is on Friday. I think, in my opinion, they might keep him or not keep him. They might just let him serve that 3-game suspension, come back to the Big Ten championship game, and I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan wins the national championship. I don't really like what the Big Ten did. Like I said, they suspended him with really no evidence or whatnot, or not really any evidence towards him. I mean, it's not really too much, I think, on this. What is your thoughts on this? Not really too much. I still need more.
What do you mean? What do you mean when you say you don't think he cheated?
I don't think he did.
You don't think what they're being accused of is cheating?
Or you stealing signs? Everybody.
No. But the issue isn't stealing signs. That's not what they're getting in trouble for. That is just a simplistic way people are framing it so everyone can understand. It's that they had a scout, advanced scouting, with the technology aspect, which is in the rules, whether people agree with the rules or not. It is a written rule that it is not allowed to advanced scout and, record what's going on. Sign stealing, as like if you wanted to have, someone during the game breaking it down, yes, is a part of it. And in the NFL, you are allowed to advance scout, but you still can't record something. And regardless of people agree with it or not, it is a rule. So by definition, they did cheat.
I think the
advanced scouting aspect of it. It's because they were advanced scouting with technology. It's a written rule, and they did the opposite of the written rule. So by definition, they are breaking the rules, aka cheating.
I think. I mean, how do I say this? I think what I meant to say is I think Jim Harbaugh didn't know anything about it. I'm just gonna put it at that. I don't think he knew anything about it. I mean, we just going by. We're basically just going by media. I mean, we're not actually right there to see it. I mean, we're not there.
No, I mean you're right. You're right. It's just I don't know how they're gonna prove it. So
that's kind of my point.
It's innocent until proven guilty. So I agree with you there for sure. But do I honestly believe that Jim Harbaugh had no idea that his team was somehow getting the other team's signs? Just out of nowhere, they were popping up, and he was like, "Oh, cool. I'll just use that." You're not going to question where this intel came from and if it's reliable. How do you know it's reliable? Oh, because we have a guy at every game recording shit. So is there a way that he actually had no idea? I don't think so. But is there a way that they're 100% going to prove it? I don't know about that either,
Well, if that's the case, Michigan does play Maryland, and we'll see or can still help coach the team during the week. He can't be in attendance, obviously, but Maryland's a pretty decent team in the conference, obviously. They're 6-4, but they got some blowouts against like Ohio State and whatnot. So I don't think this game might be close. I'm going to go with Michigan. It's going to be a very, very close game like it is with Penn State. Michigan, that's another road game. And I think Maryland would get some type of motivation thinking that Michigan is going to cheat. So they may have like the league at some point in the game. But Michigan is just more dominant on the line of scrimmage. The run game is very effective. They don't have to throw the ball to beat anybody. So I'm going to go with Michigan. Just because, prove to me that they can lose. As of right now, they can't lose. The only team they could probably lose to is Ohio State next week, which I don't think it's going to happen. Going with Michigan.
Yeah, I'm rolling with Michigan too. I don't think there's too much to say here. Like Maryland is a program that's been like decent for the past couple of years, and like years before, like they've been an up and down program for my memory. So there's not, and they have a decent quarterback situation with Tua's little brother, but is it touching what Maryland has talent wise? No, I don't think that this game is going to be relatively close. And it'll add a little bit to the resume, I guess, but this is just a middle of the pack Big Ten team. I don't think this is proving any more than at least half the game or 3/4 of the games on Michigan's schedule this year. They're proving the same thing that they proved all year. They can beat mid-teens, and we've seen them beat a good team in Penn State. But when it comes to like building a resume, I don't think this game really stands out as helping that.
Next game that should stand out in the ACC is Louisville versus Miami. Miami did lose their quarterback, obviously. So Tyler Van Dyke will be the starter. He did throw bad interceptions towards the end of the game. He has 12 interceptions of the year. Louisville has a great and strong running game. Now, Miami defense, I wouldn't say it's better than Tech's like fully, but run defense wise, they can stop the run better than they can stop the pass. And they're playing at home. Now, we've seen Louisville lose to Pitt. And this is one of those games for Louisville, even though they're ranked in the top 15, you do not want to underestimate your opponents this late in the season. I'm going to go ahead and take Miami B just because I want Virginia Tech to beat NC State and to beat UVA, and for UNC to lose to Clemson. Virginia Tech wins out. Louisville loses this conference game and probably the last game of the season as well. Virginia Tech reaches the ACC championship game, and Miami wins this game just because the reputation of Miami and Mario Cristobal I'll say this is kind of a makeup game. They should have beat Georgia Tech. That's what I'm just going to say. I'm going to say it like that. I got my
Go for it. I'm rolling with Louisville. And I'll go point by point with you here. One, the home field advantage of Miami Hurricane football in today's age is zero. They play in the Dolphins Stadium and they fill it halfway. This is not a place that, in recent years gets rocking like, it was back in the day, and like the VT Miami rivalries. Those were huge back in the day. It's not the same atmosphere right now. So the home field advantage doesn't really give me much. The quarterback situation, the way that he's been playing in, the back half of the season when he's, gone on this turnover streak before he got benched and then when he had to come back in, that gives me no confidence against a Louisville defense that can get to the quarterback quick and has decent DBs as well. And then you look at, Miami's defense did do a decent job in their previous game, but the Louisville running back room is just filled with tanks, and like the number one guy is a beast. Louisville is only favored by 1 point on, ESPN bets, which is new platform or whatever. They have very friendly lines. I'm looking today. They just opened yesterday, I think. if I have to give any advice when it comes to sports betting, these lines on ESPN bets are very friendly. I feel like we can make some money on it. We'll have to see. Anyways, that's what my lines are here. Louisville's only a 1-point favorite. So I'm rolling with Louisville. I don't think it's going to be, a game-winning field goal to win by 1. I think it's going to be, 7 to 10 points.
All right, Friday night game on FS1, Colorado versus Washington State. I get it. Colorado has definitely dropped some games. They're 1-6 in conference. Primetime Deion Sanders did shut down the head coaching rumors for A&M. He said his home is in Colorado, all of his family is in Colorado, plus he pays his taxes. Washington State has lost 6 straight games after starting off the season 4-0. So in this game, I'm not confident with neither team. Normally, Washington State, they have a decent quarterback. And Cameron Ward, he's only thrown 5 picks. I think the problem is their defense and their offensive line issues as well. Or they play a tough Pac-12 schedule like everybody else does. I'm going with Washington State. I don't have any hope. I know I just said I don't have any hope in both teams, but Colorado is a little bit down. Like if I had to choose between the two, if I had to put a bet in, I wouldn't be confident in picking Colorado. I'd be a little bit more confident picking Washington State. I understand they have a new coach, they're sort of rebuilding, but Colorado has found ways to really lose games, and the game might be close like it was with Arizona, and they find a way to lose towards the end. So I'm gonna give it to Washington State. I get it, they lost 6 straight, but until Colorado proves to me that they know how to win in the final minutes, till they can prove they can block for Shador, till they can prove they can give me a running game, I'm going to go with Washington State.
All right. Well, we're going against each other again. I'm rolling with Colorado. I just have a feeling that they're finishing 5-7 this year. That's just my gut feeling, and I don't think that win is coming next week against Utah. So I'm going to roll with Colorado versus Washington State here. The run game hasn't been a factor all year. They still found ways to win games against a caliber team like Washington State. Now, granted, they did give one up against Stanford. I will, let that be acknowledged. But at the same time, you have to give credit where credit is due. The teams that they were beating earlier in this year are more this level of team in Washington State versus that murderer's row that they just went through of ranked Pac-12 teams, and Heisman caliber quarterbacks and everything. Like they played 3 Heisman level quarterbacks in a 6-week span. That's, it's going to suck for everybody.
All right, next game was Utah versus Arizona. Obviously a Pac-12 matchup. Arizona has surprised people. Second year of a rebuild, they've done amazing. Utah has struggled. Bryce has thrown some picks. Of course, Nate Johnson is not really the starter no more, obviously, a couple weeks back. But Utah can compete. I like Utah. In this game, I'm going to take Arizona. Arizona has won 4 out of the last 5 games. Their only loss was to USC, which was a month ago. Utah, I understand they played some very tough teams, Washington and Oregon. They got blown up by Oregon. They lost to Washington by 7. It just comes down to Bryson Barnes, in my opinion. And I don't think he's been very consistent all year, despite Utah being 7-3. I'm going with Arizona. Arizona has a great run game. They have a great quarterback who does not turn the ball over as much. I'm going with Arizona.
Right. I'm going to roll with Utah, and I'm doing it in spite of the quarterback situation. It's been rocky all year. It's either, a great performance or, a shitty one. So I just think the team is more complete than Arizona. Arizona has surprised a lot of people. And like you said, they are doing great for second year of a rebuild. But which team do I think is, a more solid football team altogether, I'm rolling with Utah. I think their defense is better. Arguably the best defense in the Pac-12. You could probably argue that with Oregon, but I just think they're a better team altogether.
Game to watch: Georgia versus Tennessee. Joe Milton sucks, and Sarah Blake Cheek can get mad at me all she wants. But Georgia is the best team in all of college football. They hadn't lost a game in about 1,700 days. They beat the crap out of Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a very good team. They just don't have a very great secondary. In this game, I get it. Tennessee is at home, but they couldn't beat Missouri for shit. And once you stop Tennessee from the run, they can't throw the ball very well. So Joe Milton has been very inaccurate. I'm taking a freshman Carson Beck over Joe Milton in this game, and a Georgia that has been, they're not really the same as they were last year, but they're still efficient, and they hadn't cost themselves games just yet. I'm taking Georgia to beat Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm going that as well, no question. Nothing about what we've seen from Tennessee this year really gives me any confidence that they could hang with Georgia. Like you said, their offense, once one thing goes away, the whole thing falls apart, whether that's through the air or on the ground. Now, the ground has been able to help the air be successful, so it doesn't have to be, all of one or the other. They have been able to play complementary football, but that's in the select games that they've won. And obviously when they have lost, something has been completely shut down, and it doesn't seem that difficult for their SEC opponents to do. So I'm rolling with Georgia here. I don't really think it's much of a debate.
Next game, North Carolina versus Clemson. Well, Clemson has really proved us wrong for right now. I guess you really went ham on them in the recruiting video, so I guess they started winning games. North Carolina barely beat a Duke team without Riley Leonard. Clemson defense has tightened up at some point in time. In this game, I'm going to go with Clemson. Offensively, they're getting a little bit better. When it comes to UNC, I don't trust their defense in the fourth quarter. And Drake May has had a very good season, but I'm not sure if he's going to throw a crucial interception in the fourth quarter is going to cost the team the game at some point in time, or the UNC defense is just going to choke, or what UNC as the whole team did against Duke, beat them for 3 quarters and let them come back, and the game will be in overtime. I'm going to go with Clemson to win this game at home.
All right, I am trusting UNC here, and obviously I've been burned twice by that already this year in their 2 disgusting losses. But I do think that the boys are going to be coming off of, that win last week against Duke, fired up. Obviously, they get the victory bell for another year. The line here is Clemson -6.5. So they're predicting Clemson to win, by a comfortable touchdown. If, money line, I could justify picking Clemson in this game. I'm going to roll with North Carolina, but if I were someone picking the spread, I would definitely hit UNC +6.5. I think that's a little bit too many points, but I am going to roll with their money line as well.
Shame. Next game, what's it called? USC versus UCLA. Now, Chip Kelly's job is actually on the line. There's a possibility that Chip Kelly actually gets fired just because they hadn't been good. The quarterbacks hadn't been all that great. The defense has been efficient, but it just came down to bad quarterback play. They only scored 7 points against a sorry-ass Arizona State team. And I don't know what to tell you. Now, USC hasn't been good either. They lost 4 of the last 5 games. The only team they beat was California, and it was 50-49. So defensively, they still suck. Caleb Williams obviously is a better quarterback than both of these UCLA quarterbacks. So I'm going to be very confident to take USC. And no disrespect to Chip Kelly, you did blow up a very bad team in the NFL. I mean, a good team in the NFL with the Eagles. You give away Deshaun Jackson, everybody else. I think your time is done with the UCLA Bruins. So yes, you're done. I'm taking USC.
I'm rolling with USC as well. And I wanted to pull this up right now just to point out that we're super close when it comes to NCAA, right? You're still above me by one game. And I wanted to point out that, we're not even done with the slate yet. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different picks already. So there's going to be either some major separation for you, or this thing is going to get, a little flipped around here when it comes to NCAA.
I'll be all right. I'll still beat you in NCAA. You might have me in NFL this year.
I mean, we'll see. I was just pointing it out because we've already got 4 different picks and we're not even done. But this is not one that is different. I'm going with USC as well. I just think that their offense is going to be too much for UCLA to stop. And, that's not saying UCLA has a bad defense, but it's not one that I think is going to slow down USC enough for their offense that isn't really stuck on a quarterback yet. They've, experimented with the freshman and Dante, which didn't really work every week. And then this guy hasn't really been the guy either. So I'm just more comfortable with USC despite, the shortcomings of the past few weeks.
All right, next game, obviously, NC State versus Virginia Tech. Luckily, you'll be in attendance, and I will not be because I'm here in Maryland. Virginia Tech has done very well. Kyron Jones has very impressed me. Tootin has very impressed me. Tyler Bowen, I think, won Offensive Coordinator of the Week or some type of award after Boston College that was on the Instagram page, Twitter page, or something like that. NC State is a very good team. We're not going to sleep on NC State. Now, Brennan Armstrong, I think, is back because you mentioned to me that the quarterback is suspended for 3 games. So
no, he redshirted.
Redshirted. Yeah, my bad. Redshirted. So Brennan Armstrong, I didn't think he was that good of a quarterback at UVA. He still sucks at NC State, especially earlier in the season, where he threw 4 interceptions against Notre Dame or 3. In this game, I'm gonna go with Tech, but Tech just has to be able to stop the NC State receivers, and Brennan Armstrong all together. But don't let NC State run the football. Now, I understand that Brennan Armstrong is the leading rusher, but don't get too comfortable. I'm going with Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I'm going with Tech as well. So, Virginia Tech is still a top 10 pass defense in the country. They haven't allowed, many yards at all. And then you look at the offense, it's starting to click now. We just put up 600 yards total offense, which is a rarity in, today's Virginia Tech offense. Tyler Bowen has completely flipped it since Drones has become the starter. I think he's won a lot of people over with the, dynamic play calling, getting, all of our skill players that can produce on the field, getting everybody involved and not running the same bullshit plays week in, week out. He's mixing it up. So I like everything that's going on when it comes to this Tech team right now, minus the rush defense. And you have to respect NC State on the ground for sure. We've Brennan Armstrong, when he didn't beat us, but he did have a very good season once upon a time where he did do some serious damage on the ground. So regardless of his recent, lack of good play, you still have to respect what he can do. So that's really the only thing that would make me a little nervous. But I think, how good our pass rush has been, especially with APR, and then the secondary, Dorian Strong, 2 interceptions last week in the first quarter alone. And like I mentioned, APR has, I think, 9 sacks. So I'm comfortable with this defense, especially against a shaky NC State offense. I don't know how their record is, what it is, but we are favored by 2.5 points at home, I believe. Yes. So I'm rolling there, and I would take the points as well. I think we're winning by more than 3.
Next game, Kansas versus Kansas State. Um, Conference game, obviously. Kansas State obviously should have beat Texas, but they decided to go for it on 4th down and took the L. Kansas lost to Texas Tech. Texas Tech, we did a recruiting video on them last week. They started off well and they struggled, but they lost to Texas Tech. Jason Bean has played very well despite the missing talent of Jalen Daniels. Will Howard has played efficient as well. And this game is very hard. Both of these teams are 7-3. Not only that, but Kansas has very, very improved under Lance Leapold. I think it's his 2nd or 3rd season. So in this game, I'm more confident with Kansas State. So I'm taking Kansas State and Will Howard to win this game.
Yeah, I'm going Kansas State as well. And it's really nothing against Kansas because, last time I picked against Kansas, they proved me wrong. I was talking shit on the quarterback. He balled out. So, I've been burned already by picking against Kansas. But to be completely transparent, don't watch a lot of Kansas football to begin with. So when it comes to evaluating which of these Big 12 teams that are stuck in the middle of nowhere am I paying more attention to, it's really neither one. I'm going off of kind of just being a box score evaluator right now, which is very surface level. But I'm rolling with Kansas State. I just think they have better numbers.
Next game, Washington versus Oregon State. Obviously, that is a Pac-12 matchup that is on primetime TV. DJ Uwaluge, like I said, was not the problem at Clemson. He's doing very, very well at Oregon State. Is 8-2. It's the first time they won 8 games since 2013. It's been a very, very long time. Washington stays undefeated, even though they should have probably lost to Utah, despite one of their players dropping the ball 3 inches or 3 feet from the end zone, 3 yards, whatever it is. It was pretty bad. And of course, the block kick and whatnot. So Washington has really escaped some games this year. I'm going to take Washington. I like Oregon State, but I don't see how the Oregon State defense is going to stop Washington, which nobody has all year. So I'm taking Washington.
Yeah, so I'm going Washington for the same exact reason. And I was very confused. This is another reason why I'm saying if, you need a new sports book to bet on, ESPN Bet might be the move right now, just because they have Oregon State at -2.5. So you can get Washington +2.5 right now for good odds on ESPN Bet, which just makes very little sense to me. That I understand DJ has played well. This Oregon State team has played well, but nobody, including a better team in Oregon, as in the Oregon Ducks, could stop the Washington offense. So I understand that it's at home for Oregon State, but Washington is just a better team. They've got the better quarterback. And they're the first team out of the playoff for a reason. That's nothing against what Oregon State has done this year, nothing against what DJ has done, but I don't think I could justify picking a team that I didn't think was better than Washington. And then especially if you're not hammering Oregon State -2.5, you need to get to the sports book and do it now, because that's a lock to go Washington +2.5.
All right, matter of fact, I'm going to Florida versus. Go ahead.
No, I'm just kidding. Go.
All right. Next game, Florida versus Missouri. Like I said, Florida sucks. Missouri is also the better team in this situation. I believe that Billy Napier will probably be fired by the end of the season or maybe early next season. I'm not very sure. I'm not confident in Florida. Now, Graham Mertz has played to what he can with and what he's dealing with. I'm just not confident in the Florida offensive scheme, even though he doesn't turn the ball over a lot, and I'm not confident in the Florida defense. So I'm going with Missouri to win this game. I'm taking Brady Cook over the former Wisconsin transfer. And that run game of Missouri is pretty dangerous. They ran the ball for Well, one guy had 205 yards rushing and plus was the leading receiver. So Cody Schrader, I'm taking Brady Cook, Cody Schrader. I'm going with Missouri.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Missouri as well. Florida, it's not, I don't think it's more on, I think it's more on their defense than it is their offense. As you know, Mertz had to transfer from Wisconsin, whatever. He's played well this year. Regardless of the win totals and stuff, it hasn't really been directly on him, I don't think. He's not the reason that they're losing a lot of these games. And the same can be said about their running back room. Maybe the use in the running back room. So that's more of a coaching thing. But the running backs themselves and ETN, especially, I'm glad that he's now getting the majority of the touches. This offense can move. It can do damage. But I don't think that the defense, can withstand what Missouri is going to bring. The line is Missouri minus 11.5, so they're not really predicting that this game is going to be close. I'm rolling with Missouri here, but again, it's not because of what I don't think Mertz or ETN can do on offense. I'm trusting that Missouri attack a lot more than I am the Florida defense.
Well, unfortunately, that is it for Lambo and Matt's World of Sports. We recapped all of Week 12 games. If you need some bets, go on the new ESPN bet. You might win some money. Just in case you had won money on FanDuel, DraftKings, or whatnot, Prize Picks is also the best way to go too. With the players, just don't pick too much of the more. You might want to pick, less 3 and more 3. Don't pick all 6 of them more because it has not worked out well for me, especially with
gamble responsibly. Always gamble responsibly.
I haven't gambled responsibly. But in the next episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Totem Pole Nation. And also, if you need your merch, go to totempolenation.com. But in the next episode, we got to talk about college basketball. Now, be a responsible gambler and do not bet on college basketball. I'm glad I did not bet on Duke versus Arizona. It could have went either way. But we're going to talk about these teams in the next episode of who will possibly make the NCAA tournament, who's going to be the sleeper. We're getting too deep of it. So, like, comment, subscribe. We will catch you in the next 5 minutes.